Introversion doesn't exist. Okay. Introversion is an excuse. And the excuse is harder to quit than the actual condition. And the excuses don't help people. The excuses only make it worse because it makes weakness into a strength. It makes a vice into a virtue. It makes stupidity into a professed form of intelligence. Okay, so here's a quotation from Mercica. I'll just read this in full and I'll copy and paste it. Quote, "The problem with the world is that the intelligent people are full of doubts, while the stupid ones are full of confidence." Okay, so Mercica, this is a quote from Charles Bukowski. What's your real life experience of this? This is 2021. You know, this is derailing the cut topic with this YouTube video, but I think it's worth talking about a little bit further. Okay, so, do you think that when you go into a university classroom, and let's say it's a university class about Aristotle, and let's say you've got 3 types of students in that class. There are people who are video game addicts, who are interested in playing video games, getting out of class as quickly as possible, doing as little work as possible just because they want to go and play video games. And if it's not video games, it'll be something equally as stupid. Maybe they want to go to a nightclub and take mind-altering drugs and dance all night. They have no positive intellectual connection to the topic of the course being taught. And no matter what the course was on, they would still be like that anyway, right? There are people who maybe do have some interest in some other course, where there's some other course they would work hard on. But this particular course, they're sullen and resentful about, like, oh, I was just forced to take this course because my parents want me to take it. Or they're forced to do it because of course requirements. There's some reason why they're forced to do it. And then there's a third category of people who really care. People who even see this as the highlight of their lives. And again, I meet middle-aged people in universities who say, wow, you know what? My whole life, I've always wanted the opportunity to study Aristotle, to read about his philosophy and talk about it with an expert and share. I'm so ready for this course. For me, this is the culmination of years of yearning and pining and imagining. I care about this so much. Do you mean to fucking tell me that in that classroom, the most intelligent people are going to be silent and full of doubts? I think you have no real life experience. I don't think you know what the fuck you're talking about. And I've got to tell you, I think this is true across the board. If you bring together a bunch of musicians in a music studio, you say, oh yeah, okay, we're going to work on this album. We're going to record something. There will be musicians in that studio who say, wow, I've been waiting my whole life for this opportunity. I've been waiting my whole life for someone to put a microphone in front of me and ask me what I think and ask me what I want to do with the arrangement and how I want to play this, or how we're gonna put this song together. And they have so much to say and they're so highly motivated, right? Shy. Fuck shy. Some of those people would say they're shy in some other context. Sure, in some other context where they don't care or they don't know what they're doing, but they say, hey, I've been waiting my whole life for this opportunity to play guitar on a song like this. I've really wanted to do this. And now here I am in a recording studio and you're in charge and you're asking me what I think. All of a sudden, I'm not shy. This really matters to me. And I think in some objective sense, it really matters. You're highly motivated. You think in that room, the best musicians are people who are shy and sitting in the corner and feeling sorry for themselves? Really? Really? I'm just using this as two examples from across the board. What people are calling, introversion, what people are calling shyness. Okay. These are people who are ashamed of themselves. All right. You say you're shy. You're not. You're ashamed of it. You're ashamed of yourself because you didn't read the book before you came to class. You didn't read Aristotle, or you did the bare minimum of reading that book while resenting it every minute. Either because what you really want to be doing is playing video games, or what you really want to be doing is going to a nightclub and taking drugs and dancing, or just because you resent the particular course that maybe in some other context you are a bit of an intellectual, you care about some other topic, but I was forced to take this course because of my parents or because of the university administration or something, right? You have some resentment where you're not going to do the work, right? And even if in a certain contrived context, you boast about how little work you do, which many university students do. They boast about how little reading they've done, how little effort they've made, right? When you come into that classroom and you sit next to me and I'm talking to the professor, and I'm talking to the students, and I'm charismatic, and I'm the center of attention because I know about the content and I care, right? Okay. You're not shy. You're ashamed of yourself. You're sitting in the corner of the room. And I'm going to be real with you. This is 2021. You're not just dreaming about going home and playing video games. You are quite likely in the corner of the room playing video games while you're in the classroom. You have your mobile phone out, or you have your laptop computer out. You're playing video games right now. You're shy. You're shy. You feel ashamed of yourself, right? Because on some level, you know that you should have read the book. You should have tried to understand the book. You should care. You should be learning how to understand the book right now. You should be making a positive effort, and you're not. And again, I'm not hating on you, but I talk about the university as an example. Well, some of you have never been to university. How about the gym? A lot of you go to the gym every day or a couple times a week, okay? Oh, okay, so you recognize all the people at your gym, right? It's all regular people. You see the same people again and again. No, you don't. No, you don't. You recognize the most intelligent, the most attractive, the most self-confident people, right? And again, they only need to have 2 out of the 3. There could be someone at the gym who's really ugly, but they're self-confident and intelligent, and they chit-chat with you once in a while. So you remember that person. You don't have to be all 3. You know what I mean? But there are self-loathing, mopey, shy people at the gym. There are people at the gym who are really stupid. There are people at your gym probably who are mentally disabled, who have serious learning disabilities. Trust me, there are people at the university, even though it's a university, who have serious, disabilities that way, and so mental disabilities. Okay. And you don't remember them, and you don't talk to them, okay? And the internet is their turf, because it's the only turf they have to defend. That is part of the pathos and the tragedy of the internet, is that this is where the stupid and the ugly and the self-loathing among us take their revenge against the most intelligent and most self-confident people forever and ever. And some of those people who become your enemies, they are the stupidest, ugliest people on earth. They're exactly the people you ignore every day at work, every day at the coffee shop, every day on the university campus. Okay, I'm going to just dwell on this for one moment, okay? When you deal with people face to face, you disproportionately deal with people who have a very high level of self-confidence, because otherwise they wouldn't step to you, they wouldn't say shit to you face to face. When I am on University of Victoria campus, the men and women who talk to me are the most self-confident people on the campus. They are the sharpest people, like intellectually, they're sharp. They may not be deep. They may not be they may be incredibly ignorant and crass, but they're sharp. They have a certain kind of alertness or acumen, right? And they are almost without exception, they're attractive people, right? And in the same classroom, very often, literally hiding in the corner of the classroom, there are ugly, stupid, self-loathing people with no self-confidence. And if you don't take the time to talk to every single person in the classroom, you can do the whole class and you didn't even notice they were there. You can do a year-long class at university, and someone says to you, "Oh, hey, man, how did that class go? It was great class. How many people were in that class? About 15 students. Oh, yeah? Okay, name them. And you name all. Oh yeah, I remember this guy and this guy and this guy. Maybe you don't remember their names. Yeah. There was the tall guy and there was the fat guy who was always telling jokes. And there was this guy. You're remembering the most intelligent, most self-confident people. Those are the people who actually talked in class. Those people who actually talked to the professor. And those are the people who came over and talked to you. No one says, "Oh, do you remember the mopey, ugly, stupid guy in the corner?" No. Oh, you don't remember? No, he never said one word. He didn't say one word to the professor. He didn't say one word to me. Oh, well, guess what? He hates your guts. And he is on your Facebook profile and your Instagram profile and your YouTube channel every day for the rest of your life. It is the people you don't see because they make themselves invisible with their own low self-esteem in real life, in the workplace, on the university campus, who come on the internet and make themselves impossible to ignore. Those are the people who won't just open one fake account. They'll open 10 fake accounts so they can keep sending you email. And those people will start their own YouTube channels just to hate on you. And I am not joking. It can literally be a dude you were in class with. Okay, so I don't want to speak for Melissa, But Melissa is saying that among her haters this way, people who hate on her, but who actually did know her in high school or university, just as with my example of this old friend of mine who actually has published some books and he's traveled around the world, led an interesting life in different ways, that in some ways, these haters, they have had successful lives. Right. Okay. Now this is me speaking for myself. That was me paraphrasing Melissa. Okay. Right. But this matters more. Period. Right? The reason why they're jealous is that even if they can't analyze it or think about it, right? This matters more. The life of the mind always matters more. Always. Hey guys, who went skiing? Who went skiing last week? Who gives a fuck if you went skiing? Nobody gives a fuck about your skiing trip. Nobody. Okay. Yeah, there are a lot of people. I mean, the people hating on Melissa, a lot of them have been on a whole lot of skiing trips. And you know what? Reading Aristotle matters more. Understanding Aristotle matters more. Being able to come on camera and actually give a charismatic, intelligent, useful, like a discussion of Aristotle that's actually useful to people in the audience. You know what? That matters more. And it always did, and it always will. And that's why they killed Socrates. And people live their whole lives in the shadow of the meaningful life they could have had. They all their lives are haunted by the specter of the intellectual achievement they were capable of, but that they never did pursue. Okay? And that's why they're going to hate you. But my point is this: when I talk about this being a kind of invisible, malevolent majority of people around you, they're invisible because you don't see them. They're invisible because they don't make themselves seen. They don't make themselves heard. And it will never end. So we told really briefly also the story of people Melissa has known since university. Maybe in some cases, they're people you've known since high school too, and it's just ridiculous. Sorry. I mean, if you were a friend of Melissa's in high school or university, why can't you be happy for her? Why can't you be happy for her? Why do you have to, really? I mean, in this case, it's really hate. It's really hatred. It's not hate in the sense of trolling comments or something. Why do you have to hate this person who is a kind of acquaintance of yours, but someone you knew to some extent, in high school and university? Why do you have to be this way towards it? Okay, that's why. Okay, it's real resentment. It's real inferiority. I said to you before, for me, one of the reasons why I would make that book about Martin Luther King Jr., even if it is hated, or even if it's hated by 10 times as many people who positively appreciate it. 1,000 people hate it and 100 people see it and appreciate it over the next 10 years. I feel I have to do that because nobody else can do it. Nobody else can give voice to what I'm going to give voice to. And I know for me, this is a relatively low effort video, but you guys can imagine there are some videos that reflect years of work and years of life experience. So there's so much that goes into it. Okay, that's another story. That too. I feel I have to say that because nobody else can say it. Well, guess what? There are some really stupid people in your audience. There are stupid, ugly people who have no self-confidence who are sitting watching that video feeling that they could never do this themselves. They could never say this themselves. They could never read the book. Or if they do read the book, they could never understand it at this level, analyze it on this level, give this lecture on this level. I would not even call this jealousy. I would not even call this envy. I think neither one of those is accurate. All right. This is about inferiority and having a punitive attitude of people going out and seeking revenge. Okay. So I'm coming back to some earlier comments made by Vanima. So by the way, I don't know if Vanima is male or female. It's a feminine ending on the name. So I'd assume this is a female person. Okay. Vanima, I think you made some typos here. So you said they can't contribute if they don't like others doesn't mean they're stupid. So I think you have another comment in here where you're saying that I'm sorry if I'm misattributing this to you. Someone else said, well, what about people who are just actually introverted? What you're doing, Vanima, and I think there was one other person who understandably was a bit upset by my oh yeah, so Nacho, no big deal, but Nacho said some people are just introverted. Being able to read a book and come into a classroom and talk about it with other people, right? Okay. You think that's something different from intelligence, right? And not being unable to read a book and then come into the classroom and discuss it with others and maybe learn from your own mistakes and maybe learn from theirs and debate and discuss what was being unable to do that. You think that's something other than stupidity. Okay. But you're wrong. That is intelligence. And that is why people will hate you if you're good at YouTube. That's why people will hate you if you're good at doing book reviews or any other kind of really meaningful and substantive broadcasting on YouTube, whether it's about politics or history. Frankly, it could be about architecture. It could be anything, okay? Because if you're good at this, they feel that you are better than them, okay? And they're right. To really have jealousy based on grades, a number on a piece of paper. Okay, if that, I'm not saying it doesn't exist. Okay, that's shallow. That's limited because that's jealousy about something you did. Okay, what we're talking about here is a feeling of inferiority that is really on a deep level based on who you are. You know what I mean? The fact that you are that shy, self-hating person and nobody knows your name. And it's not just one class. It's not just when you're in class with me. Every single class you go to at the university, you're ignored in all of them. And there's some other guy in that class who is the Eisel Mazard of that subject. But guess what? For those people who make themselves invisible in real life, you can make up a fucking excuse and call it introversion. Okay? Introversion doesn't exist. Okay? Introversion is an excuse. And the excuse is harder to quit than the actual condition. Okay. These are people who go from one classroom to the next, and everywhere they go, they're stupid and lacking in self-confidence, and they're invisible, and they make themselves invisible. They mope from one classroom to the next, and they mope, and once they're finished university, they mope from one theater of life to the next forever and ever. And they get to go home and play video games and go on the internet and leave hate comments and so on. And I'm saying this literally, even if they're people who knew you face to face. This is this phenomenon that you'll see, again and again. Okay. Now I know you may feel, Brendan says to the audience, quote, "I feel attacked, LOL." Okay. It may be reassuring for you as a student to tell yourself, oh, those silent, sulky kids or middle-aged adults, whatever they are, those silent, sulky students who are sitting off in the corner, maybe they're the most brilliant of us all. And the professor at the front of the classroom, he may want to delude himself this way also. He might think, well, the students who are talking are kind of dumb, but there are some silent students. Maybe I can kid myself into thinking they're having really profound thoughts. Okay, no. All right. It's okay. So Nacho is backing up. I totally understand that you are. Nacho is saying, quote, "What about introverted folks who are not unintelligent, but just shy to speak to others?" Okay. So Nacho, I don't think these are two separate things. Okay. I don't. I'm going to be real with you. I don't even think learning and teaching are two separate things. And what am I doing in that book review video? Right. I'm both learning and teaching at the same time. When you come into that university classroom and you've read the book and you want to learn from others and you want to share what you got out of reading the book, the same book everyone else in that classroom, read, no, what you are calling shyness. I already have a video telling you that shyness doesn't exist. But no, I don't think shyness exists. I don't think introversion exists. I think these are excuses, and the excuses don't help people. The excuses only make it worse because it makes weakness into a strength. It makes a vice into a virtue, and it makes stupidity into a professed form of intelligence. No, your problem is that you're stupid. Your problem is that you're ashamed of yourself. Your problem is that you don't have anything intelligent to say about the book, because if you did, you'd say it. And your shyness, what you call shyness, would be irrelevant, right? If you felt, coming back to the example that started this all. If you really felt you had something important to say about the death of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and nobody else is ever going to say it. Shyness is obviously irrelevant in that context. If you know someone who says that they've read this book about who killed Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and they think that it contains really important facts that they want to share with the public and they want to discuss with people, but they're shy. If someone said that to you, someone's in the same position I was after reading this book, the most useful thing you could say to them is, you're not shy. You have nothing to say. Oh, I'm wrong? Oh, I'm sorry. Prove me wrong. Oh, you have something to say. You have something that's really important for the whole world to hear. You have something that's really important for other people to hear. You have something that's really important for your own coworkers to hear, your own university professors to hear, for anyone in the public. Oh, really? Oh. Are you sure the problem is that you're shy? Probably, if they step up to the challenge, if they just film themselves trying to say what it was they thought was so important, and then watching the video back, they're going to realize, oh, he's right. I didn't have anything intelligent to say. I imagined I had something intelligent to say, but now that I'm watching my own recording, I'm forced to confront the reality of my own stupidity. I'm forced to see how little I have to say and how bad I am at saying it, which I'm sure for many people could be a growing experience. And look, guys, I wasn't born smart. I really wasn't. I made myself this way. I wasn't born wise. I was born ignorant and stupid. All of us were. And there are still innumerable topics that I am ignorant of, and that if I spoke on them, I might say something stupid. I don't claim to be an expert in all things. Whether or not I claim to be an expert in anything is actually debatable. And look, guys, sorry. So this has been a big digression, but obviously, what we do here on YouTube is a much better example. It's a much better crucible for all these things than any university classroom. Right? What actually goes on in university classroom has much less to do about really developing your own ideas and changing the world than we do on YouTube. Like what I've just described from an idealized university classroom, it's much more true of what people do here on YouTube. YouTube it's better than any university classroom, and honestly, not just in this way, in all ways. And no, it is not the case that the intelligent people are shy. Nor that they're introverts, nor that they're, in this, whatever mythology people want to make up to glorify this kind of self-hating, self-abnegating behavior. What I see there is a litany of excuses. And I think that, the excuses hurt people rather than help them. Melissa is raising the question of to what extent is this innate talent, and to what extent is it an effort made here and now, and to what extent is the accumulation of hard work over many years. And right, so
like it's a lot easier to be quiet in class, even though
it's easier to play video games. It's easier to learn nothing. Yeah, sure, right. Yeah.
Whereas if you actually make the effort, if you're working hard,
right,
then you're more likely to get more out of it. Number one,
right.
You're also more likely to actually.
There's a lot of suffering involved too.
Right, exactly.
You suffer and really making the effort, really striving, and really and failing. We're talking a lot about failure, and this is supposed to be a video about success.
Well,
right? Right.
If you're actually trying hard in classes, if you're actually reading texts, it's worth it just to it's worth it just to become a more intelligent person.
Right.
Even if there isn't any level of success that can come from this other than a grade.
Right. But not gym class, maybe. You see what I'm saying? But then it depends on how meaningful the class is.
Sure.
I mean, that's ultimate. That's the great thing about YouTube. It's this malleable art form. You could just make YouTube videos about how to have a bigger bum, by doing this exercise at the gym, etc. And that's not zero meaningful. On a scale of 1 to 10, it's more than 0. There's some level of meaning there. But sure, again, unlike a university classroom, even an idealized university classroom, YouTube can be about anything. And whatever you make it about, that becomes your life. So, it's a powerful thing to say. If you start doing YouTube videos about restaurant reviews, right? If this is successful, it takes over your life. Are you pleased with that? If you start doing YouTube videos about Aristotle and political philosophy, referring back to ancient Greece, this becomes your life, and you become a different person through it. What an amazing tool. What an amazing tool to transform who you are, right? And to meet a small number of other like-minded people, maybe 5, maybe 50, you don't know, So no, that's an amazing power in your hands. It's much better than university in all those ways. I can remember what a different character I was in my first year of university. I can remember what a different character I was in high school. And, I'll never forgive them for it, but my parents wanted me to drop out of university in my first year because it would have been easier for them. Now, what would my whole life have been like? How would I have turned out? And what would my level of education be, and so on, if I had dropped out of university? It was a very heartbreaking, difficult, realization to deal with what was going on in my own family and education and career and things at that stage. Well, I have a lot of genetically similar people in my family. I have a lot of half brothers who have absolutely zero intellectual character. Now, we're not twins. We're not genetically identical, but they're guys born with a lot of the same apparatus I was born with, mentally and physically. They're similar to me in obvious ways. And I can see the paths they took, and I can see it's possible to be born with, approximately my genetic code and accomplish absolutely nothing, intellectually, to not develop in this way whatsoever. So it's not hard for me to imagine. It's not hard for me to visualize the extent to which who I am today is really the product of hard work and of conscious decisions I've made and sacrifices I've made and suffering I've gone through. You know what I mean? So yeah, very few of my positive traits in that sense are innate. Okay, so we had a couple people raise the possibility. This is a digression from the topic of the video, but maybe it matters more. Maybe it matters more because we're talking about YouTube. So James says, quote, I can talk to friends about intellectual topics at length, my family and whatnot, but in front of a big audience, I struggle a lot. It's not really due to the subject, just the atmosphere. Okay, James, why? Why do you think that is, you fuck? What the fuck do you think is wrong with you that you can talk about intellectual topics as long as there's no risk, as long as there are no consequences, as long as it can't possibly change anything in the world for better or worse, as long as nobody is judging you? And now think about what I went through and what I still go through just to have the opportunity to influence my fellow vegans in the vegan movement politically, just to try to influence Canadian politics on First Nations issues, which I'm also hated for. It's just by a smaller number of viewers. My political views on a huge range of topics are massively unpopular. But believe it or not, even just me stepping forward and saying, hey, you know what? It would be really meaningful if white people started learning languages like Korean and Ojibwe. If instead of genocide, we actually were reviving these languages, like for the future of our own. These are incredibly unpopular beliefs. What would you think of me, James, if I told you that I had no problem talking about these intellectual topics as long as I was in the comfortable small circle of my own family? That's what you said. My family, comma, whatnot. Gee, you mean you can only talk about politics when you're only talking about it with people who either already agree with you or where there are no consequences and no risks? Really? What kind of person are you? Oh, are you shy? Oh, does that explain it? Oh, is that your excuse? Is that what you're with? I think you're a fucking coward, James. I think you've adopted a set of excuses that are making your life worse every day. Okay, so Vanima, you seem to also be part of Team Shy. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. What was the point of talking about intellectual topics, as you put it? Okay. Was it only to talk to people who won't judge you, who already agree with you, who are already your friends and supporters? Or were you actually trying to change the world? Or were you trying to learn something? Or were you trying to teach something? As they say, especially with YouTube, you can see the dynamism of this, that in many ways, learning and teaching become one and the same. You take the time to read that book and talk about it on YouTube, and maybe you're wrong about a bunch of things, and you learn and you make another YouTube video. That's a lot more dynamic than university courses. You want to say something good?
Yeah, I don't want to get off topic too much, but I think it relates to what you were saying earlier about music. If you want to
Yeah.
play music, what does it say of you if you are only comfortable playing
Right.
music in front of your friends and family,
Yeah.
or just just your relatives? Because
Right.
the stakes are so much higher
Right.
if you're performing
Right.
in front of a live audience
Right.
of 200 people, 300 people. But if you are only comfortable in
Right.
the safety of your own home, that does show what your capabilities are, what you're comfortable with,
Right.
what you feel that you're capable of.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, okay, I think music is an interesting example. What if someone told you, James, that they can play the guitar really, really well, but only in front of their own family, not in front of an audience? And it's their own compositions. They write songs. They write original songs. They say, well, they create their own songs and they perform them, but only in front of their own family. Again, no risk, no stakes, no fear of consequences, no fear of judgment, no fear of the audience is going to laugh at you, right? Okay, so I don't think they're shy. Okay, I think they're ashamed of themselves. I think on some level they know their work is crap. It has nothing to contribute. Okay, but what if that same person, what if one day they come up with a song and they say, I believe in this song. This song really matters. This song could be a hit. This song could change the world. Or even if you don't think it could be a hit, you think this song could be really meaningful to 500 people, if only 500 people hear it on the internet. All of a sudden, you're not shy anymore because you actually think the song you have to sing is worth something. It's worth sharing. It's worth taking that risk. You see what I'm saying? So now you may not perceive that as self-confidence, right? Instead, it's that, I'm confident in the song, right? It's your song. It's your performance. It's your composition. It is self-confidence. What a lot of people want is to not get out of their comfort zone in any way, to not have any risk, to not be judged and so on and so forth, but then nevertheless to also have wealth and fame. And of course, that's what they imagine about people like Trisha Paytas, right? But it's not true. Trisha Paytas has very little intellectual substance to share, but she shares it. And she comes out and shares, and she comes out and weeps. And, she breaks down weeping on camera, talking about these most personal, intimate things. I've seen incredibly few of her videos, but I heard her basically talking about giving a video where she talked about being a stripper and prostituting herself and, really deeply personal things. I mean, no, but it's right. Okay. Trisha Paytas is not shy. At that time, when she made those videos, she felt that was something really meaningful for people to hear. And, she's right. I do think, I'm thinking way back when she wasn't that famous yet, I think she was really aware there were people in the audience who would relate to it and it would be meaningful for them, I remember she made a video just talking about the fact that she had an Iranian boyfriend, a Persian boyfriend, and what that's like. And she was making that video thinking, this is going to be listened to by some other white women who know what it's like to date Persian guys. It's just saying it may not be on the same level, but no, there's a commitment there. So look, Nacho, I'm not being contrary. Nacho says, quote, what if they are shy because they're ashamed of themselves, but not for being stupid, but for being socially awkward? Some people stutter and mumble when they have to interact with others. Right. But if you're the musician who actually believes in the song, so again, it's not, right. My claim is that this really is self-confidence. You're confident that this song needs to be sung, needs to be put in the charts, needs to be shared on the internet, right? So therefore you have a kind of self-confidence. No matter how much stuttering, no matter how much mumbling, no matter how awkward, you are going to commit to getting out and promoting that song, okay? If you are stuttering and mumbling, or let's just say you're blind. Let's just say you are literally blind. So when you make a YouTube video, you can't really make expressions and eye contact with the camera the same way someone who sees can. But you have done this reading. You have this message to share. So I just did a video. Again, sorry, I'm just bringing back my own thing. I have this point to make about the economic fiction that Bernie Sanders and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez rely on. So I really think I have something important to say to you. And the video is a failure. Only 278 people have seen it. I feel this is something really important. I'm aware if I don't say it, nobody else is going to say it, etc. Right? This is on me. I've got to share that message with you. Nobody else is going to do it. My friend Jeff isn't going to do it for me. So I am going to come on camera, even if I'm blind, even if I can't make eye contact with the audience this way, because I have a disability. You know, I don't know if you've seen blind people, you know, they know how to sit upright and talk, but it's not the same as the on-camera performance of a sighted person, especially if they're born blind. You know, say, okay, I have this really important thing to say about economics, and I want to share with the audience, and I hope you will share the link so that the word gets out here, because this really matters. So the same way the musician can have confidence in the song, the YouTuber can have confidence in that message. And then, yes, you fucking put up with it. And you ask your audience to put up with it. You say, look, I'm sorry, I have a disability. Maybe it's stuttering, maybe it's blindness, but this is so important. This is so meaningful to me. I have to share with you. Now, the other example, you know, I've used before and I'll use it again, is my video about the Central Park 5. So that video still has only 2,800 views. Okay, as far as I'm concerned, this should have 1 million views. I'm certain I've lost subscribers and lost supporters. It's just so politically shocking. Most of my audience is left-wing or left of center. They're leftist vegans. It's disturbing, okay? Like, there were a lot of things. It was disturbing for me too, doing the research and realizing this, okay? Guess what? That's such an important message. And the research I did, it's so important for me to share this with you, right? I have confidence in the message. The singer has confidence in the song, right? So therefore, I have self-confidence, right? And maybe I'm fat, and maybe I'm ugly. Maybe I have a disability that makes it more difficult. Maybe I stutter, right? And that's not the point, not the question, right? You've still got to get that message out there. And YouTube is so much less work than writing a book. So I haven't mentioned this, but I've been sick for at least the past 3 days. I think 4 or 5 days. But anyway, maybe four days, something like that. I've actually been really sick. I've had a fever, and I've been sleeping badly. Okay. I wanted to work on my book in the last 4 or 5 days, and I didn't because I was sick. So just mention, I'm able to make this YouTube video right now, right? The level of effort to write a book, to publish in print form, this same kind of message, it really is much, much more work than making a YouTube video. So if you stutter, now here's the other funny thing. Maybe making YouTube videos can actually help you improve your stuttering. Maybe you can get better at speaking through making YouTube videos, you know, so there is actually some good in that. But even if not, you know, this is so much easier than writing a book, publishing a book, or getting your message out through written articles. So Nacho, so this is off topic, but in some ways on topic. Nacho is saying, quote, sorry, off topic, but you mentioning Central Park 5 made me think, I really can't believe a dead body was found in a car rented by Breonna Taylor, and it was never reported by the media, close quote. Yes, so I did have several videos talking about the Breonna Taylor case. That's another great example. I mean, you know, if you know about this kind of thing and you care about it, what's stopping you from making a YouTube video? So Breonna Taylor, it's already much forgotten, but she was made into a hero by the mainstream press, and to a remarkable extent, just a little bit of research revealed the extent to which she was a villain, including that dead body in her car. And by the way, I have heard the police recording of a police officer who, just from the audio, it seemed to be a black female police officer, like from the voice, sounded like an African-American woman police officer, showing up in her house and confronting her about that and talking to her about it. I mean, I've heard that. I know certain things about it. You know, so what are you going to say if you really care about these things? If you really care about anything, what are you going to say? Oh, well, I'm only comfortable talking about that with members of my own family. You know, what does that say about you? Either you don't believe in yourself, either you don't have self-confidence, or you don't believe in the song. You don't believe in the story you have to tell. You don't believe in the mission. You know, the message you have to deliver. You don't believe in the mission, I guess is a good enough way to say it, right? You know, but there's a kind of self-loathing that would prevent you from sharing that. Nacho, I hope you get the point. I'm not being hostile to you here. Yes, some people stutter, but being shy is a lie. Being an introvert is an excuse, and it hurts the people who believe in it. It hurts the people who make it. And I also have had to struggle with this. So I'll post here the link. Here is the link to the Central Park 5 video. You know, there are things that are hard for me to say, and there are things that alienate my audience and are bad for my YouTube career. And I have to say them. That's not the same as dealing with a stutter or being blind or what have you. But no, if you really see the value in this art form, in this message, right, it's going to totally eclipse those disadvantages. And by the way, I don't think this is just prescriptive, what I'm saying. It's not just prescriptive, it's also descriptive. I think that's what you see all over the internet. Whether people are right or wrong, people feel they have something so important to share that they are going to share it anyway, even if it means that they have to admit on camera that they used to be a prostitute. They talk about their history of being a prostitute. Even if, and I'm sorry, but having a stutter is hard. Admitting on YouTube in a video your own parents are going to see that you used to be a prostitute, that's harder. Okay. And everyone's willing to do it because it's so important. I mean, really, what we're doing here, it's so important. It's so meaningful. It's so rewarding for you as a creative artist or intellectual. And it's so meaningful for the audience. You've got something to share. And if just a few hundred other women see it who've been going through the same things you're going through, or they're thinking about doing it. Sure, I'll give you a real brief example. I actually do remember this YouTube channel. There was a YouTube channel, and she is a very, very skinny woman. She's vegan, but she's very slender. And when I first discovered her YouTube channel, the vast majority of her views were her videos talking about getting breast enlargement surgery, getting silicone breast implants inserted. And she was giving advice, especially for women who, like her, were very petite, very small, and very lean, because the type of surgery you get is different. Yeah, otherwise, I probably wouldn't know about this. But it's in some ways, it's obvious. If you're kind of the type of surgery relates to your body type or whatever, right? So the vast majority of her fame, the vast majority of her views were people coming to see these videos. And the people she was interacting with in her audience were women interested in getting the same surgery, or women who already had one surgery and were getting another surgery, right? Okay, there was a turning point in her channel where she deleted all those videos. She lost all those views. And then she started making YouTube videos talking about the fact that it was a mistake, that she regrets it, and that she was going to get surgery to remove the breast implants. And then she talked about the surgery. She talked about having them. Yeah, stuttering's hard. Having a visual disability, being blind, it's hard. You know what's really hard? Coming on camera and dealing with that. It's hard. Okay, that's hard. You know what's hard? Coming on camera and directly confronting neo-Nazis. I've done it. Coming on camera and directly confronting communists. I've done it. Okay, you have a stutter. Fuck you. Okay, fuck you and fuck your stutter. Okay, I have come on camera and talked about losing my virginity. I have come on camera and talked about the fact that my own parents were communists. And I had a really terrible childhood growing up with these crazy communist parents. And I've talked about that in a variety of contexts, but including where I'm really reaching out to people in the audience and saying, hey, some of you grew up with these problems too. And videos, including interviews, where I was reaching out to people, and they're communists now. They're people who've joined the communist religion, frankly, and where I'm saying, look, I have a perspective I want to share with you because I grew up with this stuff. My parents wanted me to be a communist, but I rejected their beliefs. Like I know I can relate to your situation. Okay, that's hard. Okay, that's hard. And what? Nobody asked me if I'm shy. Nobody feels sorry for me. I must be shy. It must be hard for me to talk about losing my virginity. It must be hard for me to talk about my relationship with my own parents, my parents' political ideology. And it must be hard for me to take that and then, use it to try to confront people and convert people, frankly, who are communists and who are neo-Nazis on the internet, and try to make the world a better place, and to try to politically educate others at the same time that I'm politically educating myself. I'm doing the reading, I'm doing the learning now. And in the last 5 years on this YouTube channel, the last 8 years, I'm learning. I've learned so much since I started this YouTube channel. I'm challenging myself to grow. You see what I'm saying? So, I'm just keeping it real with you. So both several other people did as well, but I think it's mostly Nacho. I get what you're raising is real, okay? But in that classroom, using the university classroom as an example, and we're going to come back to you. In that university classroom, some people appreciate this is the opportunity of a lifetime. You can sit down and learn the philosophy of Aristotle, or you can learn nothing. You can squander it. And guess what? I used to live in Vientiane, the capital city of Laos, okay? And I said to every other white English-speaking person there I met, don't you realize being here now that this is the opportunity of a lifetime? I don't know. Maybe I was the only person who got it. Like maybe nobody else realized what an opportunity it was to be in that country at that time as that political situation was unfolding, to be able to learn what we were learning, do what we're doing, and even participate in government. The way I was participating in government was inside the government there, and to meet those people and talk to those people and learn the language. There was so much that I was getting out of it, right? Okay, well, guess what? What we're doing here on YouTube, it is a richer experience. It is a more meaningful experience than going to university and sitting in that classroom. It is a richer experience. It is a more enriching experience, I might say, than buying an airplane ticket to Laos and moping around Vientiane, the capital city of Laos, and meeting other people who work in humanitarian work in the government. I'm being real, and you can go back and watch your own videos and learn from your own mistakes anytime. I mean, the experiences I had in Vientiane, Laos, they're intangible and irretrievable in a very, very different way, because I wasn't YouTubing during that period of my life. You know what I mean? In some ways, I carry them with me forever, but in some ways, they're lost forever, and I wasn't able to share them with you, or anyone else in the audience, or my own daughter, or my own grandchildren. Right? That's gone forever in a way that YouTube isn't. You know what I mean? So when people sit down in that classroom, some of them recognize this is a positive opportunity and they try to get the most out of it, no matter how stupid they are, right? And some people have an excuse. Quote, great points about shyness and shame, but some shyness is caused by trauma in childhood and adolescence. In those cases, they need encouragements, not just attacks. Okay, but I mean, I think I've just addressed this. I think I've just addressed this in the last 10, 15 minutes. Okay, you've been through trauma in your childhood. Okay, so you want to feel sorry for yourself? You want me to feel sorry for you? What's your point? Having a stutter is hard. Being born blind is hard. It's a lot harder than having the memory of childhood trauma or adolescent trauma. You know what I mean? Okay, and now let's talk about filmmaking. Okay, so do you want to create something? You want to create a short film on the internet that can influence hundreds of people's lives, possibly millions of people's lives. You want to do this? You have this message, you have this song you want to sing that's worthwhile, okay? Or what do you want to do? Or do you want to take this childhood trauma the same way that someone with a stutter might take their disability, or the same way someone who's blind might take this disability, and manufacture it into an excuse for what it is you're not going to do, right here, right now? You might not have seen my videos about therapy and psychiatry generally, but my catchphrase on that is, it's very easy to tell people get professional help, but the reality is there is no professional help, and I don't believe in this model of therapy that you're alluding to here. I don't believe there is any university degree that helps you to help people in the way that you're describing. Okay, so great. I got a great question from Javier. Javier, I hope you're still here. Sorry, I know you wrote. I don't know how long ago you wrote this. Question. So Javier asks, is there a video where you've approached the topic without feeling comfortable in your own knowledge, like where I've challenged myself and I've been uncomfortable making the video? And the answer is yes, all the time. All the time. Even in the first year of the YouTube channel, I challenged myself that way, and some of them are not that great videos in the first year of the channel. Definitely. If I went back and watched those videos in the first year, I think probably a lot of them I'd want to delete or unlist, the things that didn't really work out that well. But yes, and now Javier, I don't know if you were here. I have mentioned videos that were uncomfortable for me in this discussion. I mentioned the one about the Central Park 5. And I gave the link to that. I have already mentioned examples of that. But Javier, I can give you a great example. And that was the video you asked me to make. You sent me an email or a message on Patreon. You wrote to me asking me about the history of the education system in Chile and the politics of Chile at that time. So I'm sorry, I'm forgetting exactly what your question was. But whatever your question was about the politics of Chile, my answer was to deal with the history of the education system in Chile. It was a total 100% challenge to me. I have absolutely no formal or informal education in the history of Chilean politics or even South American politics. I mean, I've made a number of videos talking about, the different kinds of academic background I have, including lately I was talking about the Middle East, the Arab world, and so on. So it was a huge challenge for me. And I made that video not despite my own ignorance, but because of my own ignorance. I was like, okay. And dude, so Javier, Javier has read many chapters of my book. The book isn't published yet. Dude, there are so many chapters of the book that were written in exactly that way, where it's like, look, I'm not comfortable with this. Let's say I write one chapter. It doesn't matter, chapter 7, 8, or 9, but some specific chapter. I write the chapter. It's like, okay, in that chapter, I'm aware, like I'm sitting here as the author. I only dealt with the aspects of the problem that I already have expertise in, that I'm already comfortable with. But now I'm going to challenge myself to write the next chapter. It's okay. Melissa's going to sneeze. Sneezing's allowed. Now I'm going to challenge myself to write the next chapter and deal with the other side of it, the other aspect where I'm out to sea. I'm outside of my area of expertise, where I'm not comfortable, where I'm uncomfortable. So I do that in YouTube videos. I do that in my writing. And yeah, by the way, those chapters of the book, they took a lot of research. I had to go out and do a lot of reading as part of that. Obviously, I couldn't just speak off the top of my head. And that video I made for you, Javier. I'm sorry if it's the wrong guy. I assume this is the same Javier. We don't have that many viewers named Javier, but that I did a lot of research for that too. It was many hours of work. So I do that. I do that all the time. Well, let's be real. Even emotional videos, even videos that are just talking about my own life. I have made videos just talking about violence. And there are chapters of the book talking about violence, political violence, and revolution, where I am intentionally challenging myself to deal with the stuff I'm really uncomfortable with, to deal with the stuff that's dangerous for me. There's an element of risk in making YouTube videos. There's an element of risk in writing a book. And I think there's an element of risk with radical honesty, with any time you put yourself in the position of keeping it all the way real and reasoning things through to their ultimate consequences, where you challenge yourself, because it's really easy to write a paragraph in the book saying, oh, well, of course, I'm opposed to political violence. Of course, I'm opposed to violence in politics. Okay, but where you challenge yourself to think it all the way through and to think through the examples and scenarios where it's like, oh, well, it's easy for me to say I'm opposed to violence. Oh, but now let's really think through, let's really challenge yourself to deal with the problem and all its complexity and prove yourself to be a hypocrite and, drag out the contradictions in your own philosophy. So no, I said before, I talked about this YouTube channel. It doesn't exist anymore, where the catchphrase was get upset. But, I could say about this too, right? Get uncomfortable, be committed enough, whether it's YouTube or writing a book, to really get uncomfortable, to go into those areas. So yeah, I do that quite intentionally all the time. I want to deal with my own hypocrisy or prove myself to be a hypocrite and really, with radical honesty, reason all the way through. Right. Great quote from Brendan Williams. Brendan Williams is quoting Seneca. I remember reading that in Seneca. I think he says some meaningful things immediately before and after it too. We suffer more in imagination than in reality. Right. And that's indeed why there's so much suffering here on YouTube. That can be translated in slightly different ways. The philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer has the example, I experienced this myself as a child, of a child who is running around playing and scrapes his knee and is bleeding from his knee, but doesn't feel any pain at all until an adult walks over and pays attention to the kid's knee. It's, oh, you poor dear, look, you're bleeding from the knee. You scraped up your knee. And then the child looks at his own knee and feels sorry for himself and starts crying, basically because the adult has prompted the child that they ought to feel bad, they ought to be suffering, sort of thing. Now, this is an incredibly simplistic example, but yes, a man suffers not in what he feels, but what he knows. Maybe we can practice